Ahora sí. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today we are going to talk about improvisation. It is a power of spontaneity and intuition. It's called the name I improvise for this occasion. So, well, improvisation is not doing actually whatever you like or do anything you want. It has certain rules and certain structure, and I would like to talk today about the myth around improvisation. Sometimes we think that improvisation is, as I was saying, you can do anything you want and it's okay because it's just improvising, right? But it actually doesn't happen that way. Because, for example, if you want to improvise a piano concert, or you want to improvise a dance, or you want to improvise with your voice something, or a theatrical act, you of course have to be able to know what it is about some context, some rules you said before, so you just can do anything you want and that's it. If you want to improvise a piano concert, you of course have to know how to play the piano at least, or the notes. I don't know if you have to, for example, I love to improvise in dance, but sometimes I don't feel so comfortable enough, because if I have to play, for example, in a traditional set, for there are some dances I'm doing right now, for example, Calvelia, or some other gypsy dances, Gawasi, Nubia, and those kind of um, dances that are gypsy, and you sometimes say, okay, just do whatever you want. But of course, according to certain rules, with the adequate costume, you have to know about the context of the people you are trying to emulate, or do the things they do, and you just can do anything you want, because it wouldn't be an improvisation on a specific dance. So there are things that you have to know, and you have to be structured about. And if I just wanted to dance and I don't know any of the steps these people do actually, I couldn't do it. That's the thing. So it has some certain structures, certain rules to improvise, and you have to know where you are going to do. Um, Regarding the structure specifically, I have some friends, for example, that say I can't improvise anything. I used to do that too. I used to say I couldn't improvise because I didn't know any step at all. Hello, here I can see Nancy and Oyvind. Welcome. Um, well, if you don't have a structure, you cannot improvise. But the structure here is seen differently from what we know as method or methodical. For example, in the case of dances, you have classical dances where you have to do repeatedly everything the single same pace step, sorry, and you have to practice and practice and practice on that step until you become a proficient. But in improvisation, maybe you just have to know the average, or you have to know the steps, and with those steps you can combine them in the way you want. There's a thing I heard the other day, for example, a friend of mine that is also a dancer, and she said she's so used to dancing classical, and it's kind of difficult for her to just let go and live in the moment, and knowing the steps, of course, of the dance, just to relax and say, okay, if I want to do this step right now, it's okay, because it's the step she wants to do. It's okay, but she's sometimes gets paralyzed and she doesn't know what to do if she's not told exactly what step to follow. If she doesn't have a choreography, she just gets paralyzed. And I think that's kind of something we've all been through when trying to improvise, because we don't feel at first confident that we can do maybe some steps, or we are new to a dance or to an instrument playing, and of course we don't have all the skills maybe or the ability to improvise. But once you have acquired the first notions of a thing you want to improvise about, you can do it. Of course, if you want to improvise during, I don't know, if you are a surgeon or if you are a doctor, maybe you don't want to improvise with the people you are tending to, of course, your assistant, because that would not be the context to do that, right? But there are other contexts where you can improvise, and we will be talking mostly today about art and life in general when you can improvise. Well, I think we all improvise actually, even outside of dancing, art, painting, those kind of things. We improvise, for example, um, when we talk to somebody. We can have a script to talk to the other person in front of us. We just have to say, according to the right context, the things we want to talk about, or we want to, for example, solve a problem. We can't have a script to follow step by step. So we improvise all the time, even if we don't realize we do. So there you have it, that you are actually a good improviser. I know people say I can't improvise, I don't know anything about it, but you have that capacity inside of you, and that's what actually counts when you have to improvise. So, having said that, another thing I have heard, another myth I've heard about improvisation is, for example, I have a friend that says I improvise out of chaos. Well, that's partially true actually, because we as people, and there has been a lot of research about it, about neurosciences and those kind of things. Um, I was actually reading about an FBI investigation about, that they have all the things um, before the rest of the public has knowledge, and they had uncovered that um, we actually as people, and we have a certain conscience, a certain past we've been through. We have our own experiences, our own history, our own experiences behind us, and so we can't actually take something out of the mystic chaos and turn into a real thing. We just have to do with what's been given in a way to us, or we carry with ourselves in our toolkit or in our bag of experiences. So every person is different, and it's not that we take things out of the chaotic mm, cloud, or we just take things about out of ourself or our own chaos, I would say. So once again, you don't just take it from another space. It's all inside of you, and everybody has the capacity to improvise or to create something out of nothing at all, as the song says. So, okay. Another thing I wanted to share with you today is about this myth. Sometimes we put those labels in our heads, and we say not improviser, or we talk about ourselves in certain ways, and we limit ourselves. We put ourselves into boxes um, where it's actually sometimes hard to realize you are in that box and to get out. So pay attention to what you say and the way you say it. Not especially for others, but of course it will help you also to communicate better with other people and to be understood, and also to understand them better. But especially to understand yourself, to understand how are you thinking, what are you saying, and how and why is that coming from. Once you become an observer of yourself or of your own thinking, you start to realize why are you having the results you're having right now, and you start to realize how it would be better for you to act in the future. Because when you do that, you start thinking about your own thoughts, and it's not that you can change them, but you become a better observer, and you have more opportunities or more possibilities in the future to be able to choose different. I would say that. Yeah, that you can choose differently if you start to observe yourself. Of course, it's a process. It's a, I would say, it's a long-term thing to do for yourself. It's just for you, and I would say more. It is not only just um, a long-term relationship with yourself, but it's a never-ending relationship with yourself. So I think it can really be of help when you try to improvise, observing yourself, knowing yourself. The very first time you try to do it, it may be difficult, so just relax and be prepared to fail. So say, I'm gonna try, that's it. I know I can fail, and that's okay. Uh, it may be a bit hard, but just do it. You don't have to even think about it, just doing it the first time, and then every time you do it is easier and easier and easier. It becomes easier over the time. So this is actually what I'm doing right here right now with you. Um, remember the first video, the first live I did, I was completely scared, and I don't know even what I said that time. But right now I feel more confident, and I think it's it's better for me, and I can articulate better the words and the ideas I want to share with you. Sorry. Um, so that's okay. It's an experience. It's a new experience. Let's put it that way. Well, what else about improvisation? I wanted also to say some other thing. I've been talking with a friend. Well, it seems I have so many friends. Well, I actually do, I think. I was talking with a friend. She's living in Holland, and we were talking about the difference between culture there and here. Um, for example, I know in other countries people are so used to do things in certain way, and to have step one, step two, step three, and of course that gives them the organization and the structure they need for, for life in general, and for organizations, and for I don't know, to keep peace in the country, and those kind of things. Here in Latin America we are kind of different. We are most of improvisers in everything, which is good sometimes, but of course it has its downside. For example, we know that if something is broken, we find, I don't know, tape, and just get that thing half mended, but we feel the purpose. We have a function completion, let's say. So there are different kind of thinking, but sometimes being too structured and being so loose, as I would say, that's we need a balance to be able to really work. Um, we were specifically talking about, for example, I don't know, methods like design thinking, which are great because in just 5 steps you have um, a way to solve a problem or create a new product just in 5 steps. But here in Argentina, what we do most of the time I see is that we take those methods and improvise in every step. So maybe it's not the original method you had, but you start improvising in the middle and getting things that are more useful for your context and get things out that don't work for your context. And I think that's okay. That's good to have, but sometimes you don't have the criteria for your improvisation in that case to to make it happen. So it's just kind of a balance. You have to have some structure, and you also have to be able to improvise, but with certain rules and criteria, not just do whatever you like. So I think that would be my kind of advice, if you want, to say. Another thing I would like to talk about is what does this have to do with spontaneity and intuition, as I was saying. Well, you have to improvise. You have to first of all make it a practice for your life, and then be ready to listen to your own self. I don't know, to your wisdom, some say. I prefer to say intuition sometimes. Just listen what comes to you and try to have the blank mind. Of course, you cannot have your mind blank all the time. I believe you cannot at all, almost. I don't know. I may have some discussions there with people from meditation stuff and that kind of thing. Sorry if you don't like it, but I think our thoughts and feelings are all the time present, and we cannot separate from them. So we have to do with what has given to us. Uh, it's the way we work, and we have to work with them and actually acknowledge them. And then once you acknowledge that you are having certain feelings or certain thoughts, it's like you have a pair of glasses, I always say. It's like they tint everything you see with that color. You are looking at things in that way. For example, if you are sad, you will see everything in blue. And if you are happy, you will see everything in colors, and it will be rainbows everywhere, and you'll be laughing all the time. But they are just emotions, and your emotions are there for you to enjoy them. So just you also acknowledge that your emotions will be just there for you, even if you don't like them. And so that will be called, I've heard some authors calling that embracing uncertainty. I have also used that sometimes. So maybe it's just not embrace it, but realize it's there. Uncertainty and those extra components you didn't ask for, or you weren't thinking they could appear, and they just did. So be ready, that will happen. That happens all the time for us humans. Even if we are so structured, we will happen to find things that we weren't expecting in our life, or in our situation. So it's just the way it is. So bear with it. There's nothing else you can do. And about spontaneity, it has more to be with intuition also, because it has to be with being present and doing in the right context, that context you are, with the things you have to do in that context, with the tools you have for that context. and the things you know for that specific context, as I was saying, but just do what it feels better for you in this situation, what feels right for you. As I was saying before, if you are dancing and you have to improvise, just with the steps you know for that specific dance you are about to perform, um, with the things you know about the culture you are representing, and with the music, of course, and the steps you have, you can actually perform. So you don't have to be a Baryshnikov or I don't know an Isadora Duncan to be able to perform or to improvise. But yeah, you have to know certain things. So well, that's about improvisation. There are so many things. I have taken some little notes here, some steps or some bullet points that I wanted to share, but there are so many I've been reading and also performing a lot of improvisations in the last few years. So there's so much I could tell you, and I would like to continue telling you about these things if you are interested. Um, so maybe next time we can arrange another live to talk about improvisation. Maybe just more specific regarding I don't know music or dance or something you like. In the meantime, I will be sharing some things I have also been sharing right now in the group you have. You can enter through via the webpage here in Facebook and get yourself into the group. We are talking about so many different things, and there are many people also sharing tools and insight and things they want to tell and to share with other people. So you're welcome to participate. And thank you for listening. And if you like this, please share it with your friends, share some comments, tell about what you are improvising about in life or in art or whatever you like. So we can start the conversation. So have fun and see you next Thursday. Bye bye.